Good morning. I'm Cheryl Mizell. Welcome to Community Voices, our weekly public affairs talk show that addresses issues and concerns in South Florida. Please text me with your thoughts, suggestions, or comments as you're listening to the show. On Facebook, Twitter, or MySpace, you'll find me listed as Cheryl Mizell, spelled CHERYLMIZELL. I look forward to hearing from you. In response to the high number of foreclosures in South Florida, the Reaching You Network kicks off their 2012 Financial Empowerment Movement Foreclosure Prevention Workshop Series. That's tomorrow, Monday, March 19th, from 7 to 9 p.m. at Upper Room Ministries, located at 3800 Northwest 199th Street in Miami Gardens. My guest this morning is Christopher Edwards, the CEO of Reaching You Network. Good morning, Christopher, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Cheryl, and it's a pleasure of you having me here today.
Well, it is certainly an important community service that the Reaching You Network is offering to the community. Tell us about how the Reaching You Network was founded. Give us a little of the history.
Okay, the Reaching You Network was founded in 2001 as a community outreach program. We've been in existence for 11 years. And we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping, those who are in the midst of having their homes foreclosed. We work with a team of financial planners, attorneys, banks who will help navigate our clients' budget challenges and provide counseling to help avoid foreclosure.
And how long have you been the CEO there?
I've been the CEO for the last 6 years. The organization has been in existence for the last 11, but at the same time, I've been an employee for, pretty much from the startup of the organization.
Oh, so your history goes right along with the organization's history.
Yes.
And so for those who face foreclosure, what's the most important thing for them to do? I mean, where should they place their focus, their time, their energy so that it's most productive?
Well, what most people really don't understand the foreclosure process. A lot of times they're served a list pending and they're not necessarily responding. So what we're trying to do is educate homeowners on the foreclosure process from when they first receive the initial letters and documentation from the other lawyers stating that they're in foreclosure. So we try to have attorneys that we work with to help them and assist them and explain the foreclosure process.
Excellent. What have been, some of the situations you've been able to help people with in the past?
Well, a lot of people have various situations when it comes to foreclosures. Some people have forced space insurance. We're able to help people negotiate those matters.
What kind of insurance, you said?
Forced space insurance, that's when the lender has not received an updated policy, and they sometimes place lender's insurance, which is a higher policy. So a lot of times, that causes situations to where there's a discrepancy in the payment, and then the next thing you know, the bank is filing foreclosure. So, one of the things with the seminar is to educate, to counsel, and to coach them. So that way, we have legal attorneys there at the seminar that they can ask their personal situation, and see how can we help them.
And what are some of the current trends in mortgage scams that are going on out there that people should really be aware of?
Some of the mortgage scams that's out there is pretty much with the robo-signing and the verification. So we have companies that provide audits to verify that these companies are properly assigning the mortgages when they're transferring from lender to lender, because, it's just a paperwork mess because a lot of lenders are not able to find the mortgage notes on these files. So we have a process where we verify and provide an audit, to check and just make sure that, the lenders are doing the right thing.
So you're saying that this paperwork is been passed on from one lender to another, so much so that the original paperwork is not intact?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to, to find an original document, especially when it's been transferred from lender to lender. So, the banks, they have ways, a couple years ago, there was the big issue with all the verification of the robo-signing documents and people forging documents saying they're the CEO. And, that's one of the defense strategies that the lawyers look at when they're verifying the mortgage and going through the process of just checking the due diligence for your mortgage.
That's interesting. So people could be sitting in a home that's in foreclosure, and they're not responding to these letters and correspondence, and they could be very well doing themselves a disservice because the person who is sending this correspondence to them, telling them that their home is being foreclosed on, may not have a legitimate complaint.
Exactly. And, that's one of the things why we encourage people when they come to the seminar to bring their loan documents. So that way we could have a one-on-one case analysis performed and we could see exactly where their file stands. The lawyers, will be providing a summit of information that is very useful and resourceful to homeowners who are facing foreclosure. And, I want to encourage everyone that this is a free seminar. There's no obligation. There's no cost associated with it. And what we want to do is just provide the information so the community can be aware of what they're facing when it comes to predatory lending, different mortgage scams, and different things, that can affect their home.
The other area that's, affecting not just mortgages, but identity theft. Talk a little bit about that and its impact on this process.
Yes, identity theft has become such a major crisis, from tax identity theft to credit card identity theft, people doing mortgage identity theft. And, one of the things we encourage is to protect your identity. Be very cautious of who you give your Social Security, date of birth, any personal information. Even be careful how you, dispose of your credit card bills, because that's all it takes. It's just a piece of paper for someone to illegally file your taxes or illegally file for a credit card. And what we try to do is just educate them and teach them ways to prevent these things from happening to them.
Tell us a little bit about how the workshop will be formatted tomorrow. What will happen when they arrive?
Okay, when they arrive, we will have case analysis managers there to pretty much be on site, to get information if they have personal information that they want to share, so that way we could obtain the information to forward to the attorney. One of the other things is we will have a moderator pretty much with a panel of attorneys and different foreclosure and also some political figures will be there to speak on foreclosures.
What do they need to participate?
If anything, just give us a call, 786-459-0946, to register and reserve a spot, and we will be more than happy to assist them.
What other services does Reaching You Network provide?
Reaching You Network, what we do is we provide community outreach services, and we try to show people the right way to, pretty much be financially on track. Like I mentioned earlier, we work with a team of financial planners and attorneys to help people with things such as foreclosure. One of our community partners is Citibank, so we also work with them as far as helping people establish bank accounts for their personal and business use. And we also work with First Priority Tax Services. They provide, the tax consultation for clients who are looking for assistance. And also if clients need assistance with identity theft or if they've been a victim, First Priority, they provide a free consultation on how to go and get your identity back. So they will also be at the seminar as well.
Wow, that's very, very valuable. Now, does the follow-up process, how does that work in order to make sure that, once you get started helping someone, that, they're kind of have a check-in process so that can make sure that they're most effective as they move forward in the process?
Yeah, and see, that's the reason why we have case analysis managers on site, so that way they could communicate with them and make sure that these individuals are provided with some type of consultation, to provide informative information. and to see what the next step or the next plan of action will be.
And so over these 11 years, I mean, what are some of the situations or people that you've helped that has given you the greatest sense of accomplishment as far as helping people?
Well, as far as helping people, it's one of the good deeds that, we all should do, whether it's something big or small. By this organization being a grassroots organization, we have grown, from a small 2-3 person office to where we have, hundreds of employees willing to work with individuals. And one of the things, we at Reaching Your Network, we pride ourselves is with integrity. We help homeowners pay off their homes. We help homeowners get their mortgages reinstated. We help provide legal, well, not us personally, but we help provide assistance for legal, where we pay for people, attorneys, to have them represented. So, we've done a lot of charity cases throughout South Florida, and, throughout different regions that's really being affected by foreclosure.
And what have been some of the greatest challenges in trying to help people in this process?
Of course, the funding, because we're not government funded, we're privately funded through our sponsors and through our corporations that, work with us. So what we try to do is, we try to always find ways to help people and, provide assistance to them, within our budget. So, of course, if we had more funding to do more things, then we'd be able to help more people. So, that's one of the things we've been meeting with grant writers and different corporate sponsors to help move our movement and our cause. So that way, this legacy could go from 2012 to 2013, because, what we're trying to do is empower individuals to get their mortgages back together, to get their finances back together. People need counseling and empowerment, so that way they can make these moves that they need to make to better their futures.
And how many people do you typically help? I mean, in the course of a month or a year?
Well, we provide phone counseling, so we help hundreds of people, a month, and thousands of people just from the inbound phone calls, the community outreach services that we do. And we try to pride ourselves and, helping these individuals as much as we can.
And what, how's your staff made up? I mean, how many people are part of the staff doing all this hard work?
Well, we have attorneys that we work with through our network, and we also have individuals pretty much on the phone counseling, from pretty much 10 to 6. And if they would like to speak with one of the counselors, they could call our counseling center at 888-811-0038.
I see in the press release there's some quotes that are taken directly from the Miami Herald, and just wanted to maybe allow you to give us some insight and your thoughts about these quotes. It says, complaints lodged with state regulators against South Florida financial institutions increased 21% last year, despite an improving economy. I don't have a date as to when that was published in the Miami Herald, but do you feel like this problem is growing and it's not decreasing, it's increasing?
I mean, I think it's more so of a delayed reaction as far as, the complaints, because in the beginning, when people are not educated, they don't know their rights as a homeowner. So as they know their rights and as they see the predatory lending ways and the bad representation from the bank, then people start to complain, because you start experiencing these things. So it's like a domino effect, where one comes down, they all start to come down. Because, these banks, they have ways and practices, that are very deceptive and unclean, the way that they go about with their foreclosures. So that's why, as homeowners, we have to educate ourselves and defend ourselves, So that's why pretty much our motto is giving homeowners the power to fight back.
And then this other one says that the Florida legislature gave circuit courts a $9.6 million grant last year with a goal of cutting the backlog by 62% within a year. But critics say it has created a rocket docket that favors lenders and neglects homeowners' rights. That's also a quote from the Miami Herald. Would you say more about what that means exactly?
Well, you have, when dealing with foreclosures, you have judicial and you have non-judicial states, okay? And Florida is a judicial state. So you pretty much have to go through the judicial process to, foreclose on a home.
Mm-hmm.
And what these banks are trying to do, they're trying to lobby and create bills and pass bills that will turn Florida from a judicial state to a non-judicial state. So basically, it would just create a fast-serving foreclosure process to where the people will basically be foreclosed by publication instead of foreclosed by court.
Interesting. So has the Reaching You Network taken on or plans to take on or affiliated with another group that's trying to address that?
Well, we have participated in some of the, the Occupy movement with the Miami Workers Center. It was a protest of Bank of America, with foreclosures and things like that in Liberty City. And, we had a peaceful protest just letting people know that, the banks need to work with homeowners.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, of course, we're going to continue this movement and work with the politicians and work with the homeowners and work with the community to, create ways and resources for individuals and homeowners not to be redlined by the foreclosure process. We don't want it to be because you're in a certain area, because we believe that everybody deserves fair treatment when it comes to their property, when it comes to the housing situation. So we want to work with individuals to help, like I said earlier, empower them, to help them learn the foreclosure process, to defend their home. Because there's honestly ways, to win these cases through the bank's neglects and the bank's deficiencies.
Sure. I mean, the point that you were making earlier about, these documents just being automatically signed and without locating the original documents and the whole process being questioned as being legitimate itself. So certainly before people, sit around and fret and, stress about all this, they want to at least take the time to make sure that this process is legitimate, that they're being served with.
Exactly, because there's so many defense tactics that attorneys have to fight these foreclosures. That's why I say we're giving homeowners the power to fight back. Because, if you just sit there and you say, oh, they're foreclosing on my home, I don't know what to do, then month 1 passes by, then month 2 passes by, then month 3 passes by, these banks, their legal defense, their legal team has already filed all the motions necessary to get the foreclosure process starting.
Yeah.
So that's why, these individuals facing foreclosures, they have to be educated. And when they come to the seminar, I guarantee you they will leave with some very powerful information. They will be empowered, to start finding ways to defend their home.
Then there's this one last quote here. It says, according to Reality Track, 1.9 million homes entered the foreclosure process in 2011, and 2012's foreclosure rate will be higher than 2011.
Yeah, and that's, because it's such a backlog in the court system where you have houses that has been filed foreclosure, but they haven't made it to the, to the judge's desk yet. So a lot of people, they're thinking, oh, they're foreclosed on my home, but they haven't done anything. But, it's really just a matter of time. And as you can see, they say it's going to be higher. So, of course, as they're streamlining and people not showing up to defend their homes and the banks are just foreclosing, it's going to be a higher foreclosure rate.
So
because of the backlog of all the previous, foreclosures that hasn't been heard yet.
Gotcha. So how far along are they in this process from, trying to change it to a judicial state, as you were saying earlier?
Well, I know the bill was supposed to be presented. They presented it last year and it was declined, but, then they just tried to re-present it in another form.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to follow up and do the due diligence to see where did the bill go this year, and did they even present it this year. But that's one thing we want to keep definitely educated about, is our legal rights as being a homeowner.
Absolutely. And so where is Reaching You located?
Reaching You is located downtown Miami. Our headquarters is downtown Miami, and we have an office in Hollandale. If they would like to speak with a counseling agent, they could give us a call, and we will set up an appointment at 888-811-0038.
Now, is that the same number they would call to register for the conference?
To register for the conference, they could call 786-897-2779.
Do you have a Facebook page yet?
Yes, we do.
And what is it?
That is Reaching You Network.
And that's the letter U, correct?
The letter U, like umbrella.
Reaching You Network, and then they do a search on Facebook, and they'd be able to find your organization's page on Facebook.
Yes, and then they will see the motto, giving homeowners the power to fight back.
And then tomorrow's workshop, which is from 7 to 9, would you give the details about that once again?
Sure. Tomorrow's workshop, it's a free workshop open to the public, and will include a panel discussion on how to identify mortgage scams, understanding the foreclosure process, identity theft, and homeowner rights and home ownership. The Reaching You Network case analysis team will provide one-to-one consultations for homeowners facing foreclosures. Attendees are encouraged to bring loan documents and other relevant financial information to the workshop. Representatives from Citibank and First Priority will be in attendance to answer questions, as well as some attorneys in South Florida.
And the address and the time that it starts?
Sure. The address is 3800 Northwest 199th Street, Miami Gardens, Florida, at the Upper Room Ministries. That's tomorrow, March 19th. And the time is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
So that's that's a little bit of time to learn a whole lot about trying to change your current situation if you're facing a foreclosure. And the Reaching You Network is going to be providing services and information and a workshop to address all of that. So we thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Chris. And is there anything that you'd like to share that we haven't talked about before we close?
I would just like to thank you and the community, as well as the radio station 99 Jamz, for giving us the opportunity and the platform for our mission and our cause to be heard. I also would like to thank my community outreach director, Jimmy Nickerson, and the Upper Room Ministry, and my publicist, Yvette Harris, and as well as my sponsors, Citibank and First Priority Tax Services.
Well, excellent. And thank you once again for the work that you and your organization is doing to improve our community.
Thank you.
Christopher Edwards, CEO of Reaching You Network. If you just tuned in, I'm Cheryl Mizell, and this is Community Voices, our weekly public affairs talk show that addresses issues and concerns in South Florida. Stay close and we'll continue our discussion.